week 7, assignment 2. So this is an interview on my philosophy for teaching. My philosophy for teaching really hasn't changed since the week 4 assignment. The only thing that I kind of wanted to add on to was that my belief on the impact of the learning environment on the context makes a big difference, right? So like if you wanted to teach science, it might be best to do that in an area or in a context to have something that applies those concepts that you're doing, not just use your hands to try to describe an abstract object that's happening, but actually like a demonstration or even just a YouTube of whatever the demonstration is, right? To allow somebody to apply that abstract into where it really exists in the real world. The other part that I wanted to kind of reiterate about the teaching philosophy, since that's what the assignment is about, is that the glory of God is the human person fully alive, right? This is Catechism of the Catholic Church kind of teaching, and what this means is that education through the form of educare, which is that drawing out of the natural goodness and abilities inside of a person, it can take many different forms, right? Everybody's good at something, but that doesn't mean that everybody can't have the ability to change or grow in some of those things. So what I was going to be talking about was using different sensory routes with repetition, right? Try to explain something one way, try to explain something a different way, but always trying to connect it back into a logical and rational way, right? If it doesn't have a rational or logical order, it can't really answer a so what, then that knowledge lacks application, and so it becomes useless, right? My goal, ultimately, when I look at my students, which are currently my homeschooling children, is for them to become intrinsically motivated, resilient, and on-mission disciples for Jesus. This requires a certain level of self-mastery through virtue training, and it also want them to be able to experience that personal and deep conviction that powers saints through the love of God, and for them to courageously and contagiously radiate the peace and joy and order and happiness to the world around them, because that's what the world needs today. So that means developing into well-connected and well-equipped evangelists that are able to make sacrifices of both their time and their treasure. Now, using psychology, there's multiple theories that kind of talk about this, and one is like social cognitive theory, like watching other people and attaching the consequences and actions that are associated there. Self-determination theory, which assigns 3 major intrinsic motivators, like variables of autonomy, competence, and relatedness in drawing people either closer together or understanding why people kind of do what they do. Expectancy value theory, how can I expect to get something out of this? How can I see value in my actions, and how can I modify my actions to get that? And then the other 2 pieces that I found were interesting were Howard Gardner's 8 forms of intelligence, right, where you can have somebody who's very intelligent when it comes to math, or very intelligent when it comes to the manipulation of objects, or spatial awareness, or music, or kinetic, so the movement of their body, or in tune with their interior motives, or in tune with nature. So all these different naturalistic forms of intelligence that somebody might develop and have more affinity to in one way or another, right? And then the last was kind of Erik Erikson's stages of psychosocial development, where it transforms between trust to the subsequent hierarchy of human interactions and orders that culminates into a person really having achieved that, what kind of Maslow points to as like that self-actualization, right? But the part that really grounds all of this pieces together and kind of attaches them all together is understanding what the human person is, which is an anthropology. And I was going to use the framework of the theology of the body as presented by Pope John Paul II to develop that and embrace that idea for a person, right? Because it makes no sense to know everything about an object or subject, but have no ability to express that in a way that changes other people's lives. So that's my goal. My teaching philosophy, like I said, hasn't changed. The only part that has changed is a little bit of the context in which you have to approach different cultures or different people from different cultures in order to draw out both their what they understand and recognize what it is that challenges them or is alien to that culture.